This is Thierry Samlal from PMML. Today I want to present you market statistics for the month of March 2024 for multifamily buildings in the province of Quebec. So we're in a nice and stable market right now. We've seen stability in the past 3 months. The first quarter was extremely stable. Why? Because the interest rates are stable. And we could feel slowly but surely the confidence of the buyers coming back into the market, but not only the buyers, also the sellers. So more volume of sellers on the market and also a large volume of buyers on the market, combined to strong fundamentals, makes it that the market is very active right now. We have an incredible amount of accepted offers in our pipeline, an incredible amount of buildings coming out on the market, record amounts basically, in a market where the interest rates are very high. All of that's due once again to market confidence, which is incredible considering the fact that there's less return on buildings right now. But people do have a lot of confidence in the capacity to increase the rents and also on the fact that the interest rates are going to probably compress over time and then make the deals even more lucrative. So what we're seeing right now, which is very popular, is people taking over existing mortgages once there's enough time frame to take over those mortgages and assume the mortgage, put a little bit more cash down now, but over time refinance the asset, even optimize it, going through the MLI Select program in certain cases or not. I've seen people go for 45-year amorts, 40-year amorts, and some 50. So it depends on your strategy your takeout plan, if you have one, and your exit plan if you have one. Let's go see the top 8 transactions in the province of Quebec. The first one took place in Granby, 5 buildings. One is a 2018 construction. It's a portfolio that sold. One is a 2018 and the rest is a 1970, 1971 assets, sold for almost $7,140,000. So that's an average price of about a little less than $112,000 per door. What's interesting in this asset portfolio that was sold, 50% of debt is in place, 50% expenses basically per year. Meaning that there's a large optimization possibility here of decreasing the existing operational costs. So increasing NOI and also increasing rents. Now, if we're looking at the average sales price, $112,000 per door for a combination of those assets is a good price for the market, even a little aggressive. So meaning that it's more on the buyer side, basically, that there's an advantage here. But great expense ratio. When you see as high expense ratios on buildings, that means that there's a lot of optimizations possible in the rents, but a lot of capacity to diminish the operational costs, the expenses. Second transaction, still on the South Shore of Montreal in Sherbrooke. Now we have 4 different buildings, a combination of 6 plexes, 4 times 6 plexes, which is a total 24 units. Pretty recent in age, 2016. It's interesting to see how much more recent but a little age buildings can be interesting. So basically, if you're looking at 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 construction years being resold right now, often they've already done one mortgage cycle, meaning that there's capitalization that took place, making some room for a play in price, maybe a bit on those assets, but also more than often, there's already an existing loan in place. So it's interesting to pick up a building which is pretty recent in age, still have some kind of squeeze and optimization in a context where rents are still increasing. And Sherbrooke is a pretty interesting city because there's a lot of universities in Sherbrooke and a lot of schools. So you have that natural rotation of customers, of clients, which are basically, the tenants are students in a lot of cases. You have that rotation, that comfortable rotation. So it's a market that's increasing slowly in time, but the price per door is increasing constantly. And in this case, these 2016 constructions went for an average of $192,000 per door. So once again, it shows that the Sherbrooke market is nice and stable but constant. So if you're looking for constants, and here we have a nice recent asset, it's an interesting mix. Another deal that took place in Sherbrooke, 31 units. This one went for a cap rate of 4.9% at $131,000. Sorry, $112,000 per door. So what's interesting is the average price per door in Sherbrooke used to be $90,000. It went up to $95,000, went up to $110,000, and now it's probably still in that range, $110,000, $115,000 per door on average. Depends on the assets, because you do have older assets in Sherbrooke. There's new parts of the city. There's older parts of the city. There's also now a new blend of newer assets coming out, being built slowly in a large territory around Sherbrooke. Sherbrooke is mostly built already, but around Sherbrooke there's a lot of possibility of building. But there's a question of proximity to being close to downtown and being close to public transportation for the students. But interesting to see that this market is constant. Another transaction on the South Shore of Montreal, Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, 1982 dates in construction. They did not make that many 1980 constructions in multifamily. Why? Because in those years we were more going into condominiums. I don't know if you remember, but still 1980 is a pretty recent date in age if you're comparing to the technology, the mechanical technology that's in the 1980 building is much different from a 1970. So there was a large upscale in technology, in installation, in electricity, and in plumbing. At the end of the 70s, the market really changed. So therefore, you are getting a younger asset, easy to renovate, with not too much wear and tear, and the capacity to increase the rents over time. It's something to think about. Interesting that this transaction here, where is it now? I can't see anymore. Went for $150,000 per door. So $3.6 million in total for that transaction. Now, if we're going back into Montreal, we're starting off with Montreal now today, we're going into Villeray. This building in Villeray, 55 units, very interesting asset, 1972 construction, close to the Exchange, which is on the 40 in Acadie, so close to Rockland Center, on the south side of the Metropolitan, so meaning that you don't have to cross the Metropolitan, you're on the right side. Pretty easy access to the metro station. There's a university close by, and you could drive into Montreal, cycle into Montreal pretty easily, and you have a lot of services around. You have the Acadie Shopping Center, which is across. You have the cinema, you have access to Laval. It's an interesting place to be. And also it's on the Ville-Mont-Royal side of the highway. And as you know, there's a lot of upscale residences in Ville-Mont-Royal. So what's interesting here is that tenants, there's not that many apartments in that area. So the tenants are interested to be close to Ville-Mont-Royal, a nicer neighborhood, close to the services, not too far from the metro. An interesting mix here. And this one went for close to $200,000 per door. So the message I want to convey to you right now is market values are being maintained and the volumes are going up in a context where the interest rates are high. Very interesting. If we continue into Montreal, let's go into Cartierville. Cartierville close to Ville-Saint-Laurent. 28 unit 1966 construction. This one went for close to $156,000 per door. Now there's a mix of smaller units in this building. Which is interesting is that price per door seems to be tweaking a little bit higher. So one of the questions that you could ask yourself, why is the values being increased over time? Offer and demand, yes. Capacity to refinance existing assets with the MLI program, being able to pull out the equity from the market and push it back into newer assets, therefore, and then finance those newer assets that you just bought with the MLI program. So meaning that there's much more financing going on, less equity left in the buildings. Question mark over time how good that is. But for the moment, that's the trend and that's where people are going. Let's continue in Montreal. Huntsic, 26 units. This one went for a cap rate of 4.5, 1962 construction, $171,000 per door, right there once again. Henri Bourassa in Huntsic, which is a boulevard, east-west access or west-east access, call it as you want. A lot of buses there, some subway stations on Henri Bourassa. Interesting to see the values being maintained. And finally, let's go into Quebec City. In Quebec City, you'll find some assets. See, this one went for $76,000 per door. What you have to know is that in Quebec City, there's a lot of assets which are older. You might have patrimonial limitations depending on where you are in Quebec City. But if you have a trade-off to do between Quebec City and, say, a market like Three Rivers, it might be interesting to go into Quebec City. Although you're buying an older asset, you might have a different capacity in increasing rent. So it's a decision to take. But if you have a smaller budget, you could look into Quebec City and still find some assets which are very, very low price per door. Even if the average in Quebec City is way higher than $76,000 per door, and there's a lot of smaller units, there's a large request for refurbished smaller units in downtown Quebec, close to the old Quebec. And that's for not only, how should I say, not for tourists, but for locals that want to stay close to the city, want to have that lifestyle, want to have a little pied-à-terre. It's interesting to see that Quebec City might be a place where you could buy at a cheaper price per door. So if we sum things up, strong fundamentals, confidence is back in the market and being maintained. It's been maintained for the last quarter. Let's continue that same, I am hoping that this is going to be continued over time. I'm pretty sure it is, because we can feel that the interest rates are being stabilized, and that the buyers' confidence is still there. So now we're creating comparables based on higher interest rates. I'm anxious to see what's going to happen with the values of the assets over time with the decrease of interest rates. I think it's going to help a lot of the buyers to be able to do their renovations, because right now not that much of them have extra money to do the renovations. More of them are just buying assets, adding them to their portfolio, increasing the rents, doing the minimum renovations, and pushing back the renovations over time, which I think also is a very, very smart move. So I hope this information was interesting to you. If you have any questions, you could call me at any time on my cell phone, or send me an email at pmml.ca. On my email address, and go see our availabilities on pmml.ca. And from now to next month, I wish you the best of luck in all of your purchases and real estate transactions. Take great care.